have accumulated enough friendship with you guys that allows me to say that I'm not satisfied because the question at
If
hand,
you were satisfied, we would be unsatisfied.
I'm not satisfied. Well, let me try to make my presentation to see how tough this issue is. We just celebrated Christmas. There's 2 billion Christians in a hostility that Merry Christmas are forbidden by the woke ideologists, and who insist that a happy holidays must be used. So that is a very real world thing going on, the phenomenon that I really wish that your presentations or your approach can help. Another way to perceive what I'm thinking is to imagine that AOC, the young lady, the high-profile young lady in the Congress, sitting in our Zoom room, and how would she respond to your 2 presentations? My guess is, except rolling up her big eye, and it's very hard to have some understanding and perhaps change of behavior. So I want to initialize this discussion. Of course, I gave it a name called the Clash of Value System. The name comes from Samuel Huntington. He said clash of civilizations. I think that was too abstract because civilization is something, well, very huge, very general. We cannot embrace it. We cannot hold, put it in our hand. But the value system is very specific, that every one of us has our own value system. And in the same time, we also observe that other people different from me has a different kind of value systems. And a lot of fight and wars caused by simply holding different values. So next page. There are a lot of real world examples that I sent you a cloud drive, contains video clips. Those are all kinds of observations made by different observers, and they present in different form. The most obviously elephant in the room is this Trump lovers versus Trump haters. And there's a lot of politics going on about the coming election and the previous election and the G6, January 6th event, things like that. And also things are going on between Russia and Ukraine, and between Israel and Hamas, and between this thing called woke ideology versus awakened ideology. I recently just participated in a huge conference. It's not a conference, it's a gathering they call AmFest, American Fest. Organized by this organization named Turning Point USA. It's a gathering of all the conservatives trying to make a counterwave over the progressives. It was amazing because the conference held in here, Phoenix downtown, has 13,000 people attending. Last about 3 or 4 days. I didn't attend all of them, but I just went there. I gave them some registration fee and they get a feeling of the test. So I'm not inventing some fake phenomena. I'm observing something really going on outside our Eiffel Tower. And also this globalization forces, this is a multipolar world forces. We see a lot of value conflicting. Some of the value conflicting can be resolved, maybe by one of your methods, by some Gustave switch, by some kind of well-learning Spencer Braun, but they are incompatible value clashes that you guys just what you just said is still not helpful in my current perception. Incompatible values, I mean, two examples. First is the Islam, which had an aim to convert the whole world into Islam and to eliminate those who disagree with it. The second similar one is Chinese Communist Party. They had a goal to put the red flag to every corner of the earth. So to arrange the whole globe affair. So those are what I call incompatible values. If they win, we stop to exist. So in the whole value ecology, those are some special things we pay special attention. And these tensions are real. The fights are real. The damages are real. First, when talking about conflicts caused by misunderstanding, I had this 5-finger memory tag to remind people in my work of communicatics that people have different social style coming from psychology. So at least 4 different major styles, or whatever you want to say your point, you always have 3 ways to say it. 3 ways that meet the ear of this other 3 styles of people different from you. So that's the first finger. And second finger is the vision perspective difference. And third one is the cultural norm difference. Fourth one is the interest conflict. And the fifth one is a standard view. Your viewpoints is different. Maybe similar to the second one. So within science 2, with goals of 6C, cognition, communication, conversation, consensus building, coordination, and cooperation. Within this area, these gaps of 5 fingers can be overcome with social science tools, or what I call communicative tools. But clash of value system is a problem deeper than above. So it's getting into the area of science 3 and science 4. Science 3 is the area of game theory. The condition is all the different communities engaged into the game bounded by the same shared rule. So if you're playing the same rule, that's okay. That's possible. You can do a win or lose thing fairly. And the science 4 is in the area that follows exclusive the incompatible value systems. That is the situation that I live, you die. You have to die to make me live, to enable me to live, or otherwise I die to let you live. And those are real situations that our cyberneticians need to pay attention to. So the conflict can happen at many different levels. This says it's just a different idea. Your idea is too new, so you got executed. And Lou just used those. By the way, the 3 or 4 stuff and your triangle stuff are all coming from imaginary. I mean, by the fun-making artist. But this 9 or 6 laying on the ground is more real. So I prefer this one. It directly says what you were trying to say. And this situation is solvable because, well, if a third party get involved, it just help them to turn the figure or lead them to go around, and the problem will be solved. An understanding can be built. But there are more serious situations. Like this cartoon says that, well, the individualism currently is fighting with all these kind of dragons that are trying to eat them. So this situation cannot be resolved by turning the 6 or 9 around to let them see differently. So it's harder. It's harder. And for this globalization forces, this is United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. They all look nice, and 17 of them, but in a different viewpoint, a different value system, they all become terribly negative, frightening. And this is really what's really going on. The perception of a sustainable development world, or the perception of the totalitarian new world order, like George Orwell's 1984 world is coming. So we have to address that. And I mentioned Islam, these pictures obviously says there is a difference of a 2 different kind of word. So the question is, how do you do your metaphor switch, gestalt switch? How do you cover your 3 and 4 stuff and let each side accept the other? This kind of a split are creating a lot of tensions for the world. And that's just 2 items. Here, actually, different people, with different religions, have their different scripts, and each of them is a set of value system. Each of them has some of this value system are competing, are compatible with each other, so they can happily living together, like the Baha'i faith, like the interfaith movement. But some of them are incompatible, like this one. This statement is made recently on behalf of Hamas. You must believe that we will fight, defeat, and annihilate them. And them means Israel. So how could your method help to face this kind of reality? And here is a pure research statistics. This is estimated the size of a Muslim population in 2016, and the darker means higher percentage, the lighter means lower percentage. And the current trend going on, this is in 2050. And this is in 2050 with a zero migration scenario. That means if the Europe stopped the current immigration policy to allow more and more Muslims come into Europe, and then it will become this situation. You see that in France is the most dense, most populated by Muslim. And this is under high migration scenario. In 2050, the Europe will become this shape. So are these issues that worth our attention and making models to explain and trying to help? So what I mean, cybernetic point of view in my in my title of the talk, I mean the following things. First one is the transition from a Maslow and Kohlberg examples of stage development frames. Lou said frame is very important. So the ontogenetic perspective is my first frame. And I made some effort to make it more specific and more clear with this multiple layer self-organization theory or framework. In one word, it's very simple. It's one Ashby from First, Prigogine and Hagen, they all talk about the self-organization, but they are all talking about one step self-organization. By one step, I mean one stage. From an unordered situation into a specific type of order or eigenvalue or eigenstate, and the stabilized stay there. All four of them are talking about that one-step process. My work is to accumulate those one after another. So multi-layer. And the third element of what I call the cybernetic point of view is the 12 types of circularities perception. So the traditional, our previous session, someone talked about getting cybernetics back to Wiener's version. Wiener's version involved only 4 types of circularity. That is positive and negative and feedback and feed forward. So I made some extension to amplify the 12 into amplify the 4 into threefold. So 12 types. That's another methodological tool. And the last one is with Genstein's observation framework. Basically, he starts everything from object, and a set of objects becomes a case. The set of a case becomes a fact, and the set of a fact becomes the word. Anything other than that, he said, shut up, don't talk about that. So that's, but I think this 4 stage is very helpful for me. So my effort is to put them all together, and we have our hypothesis number 1. That is the major presentation I'm going to ask your opinion today. is this table of self-organization layers of mind. Basically, the first layer is from the stimuli input signals to the formation of the aha, whatever that aha is. So it's a formation of a concept in McCulloch-Pitts sense. A concept is formed, and also this concept, I think, is equalized with Wittgenstein's object. Okay, so this is the first layer of what our cognitive system is doing. And this involved our 8 senses. Okay, normally we perceive 5 senses. A more thorough, a more comprehensive summary tells us that besides sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing, we also have a sensor of our own balance and acceleration. So you got a car sick because of that sensor. And we also have a sensor about our joint position. So if you close your eyes, you still know that your hand is doing this. And the last one is facial expression. You close your eye, you don't need a mirror, you know you are frowning. And so that is the 8 senses. 8 sensors work for the first one. And the product are various concepts. And the deciding factor in this layer is our capacity to the judgment of true and false. Is this real? Is this true? Or it's a fake? It's a magician cheat. So we have some resources to make this happen. Now, based on this layer, we are able to learn stuff, nouns. So in our babyhood, we start recognizing apples, chairs, tables, and blah, 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 and that accumulate. And then we start learning their relationships of these nouns. So that's the third layer. We start to learn verbs. I'm talking, I beat somebody, my dog bites me. So all the verbs are learned in that relationship of those nouns. So it's a higher layer. And we get that, develop that in our childhood time. That is corresponding to Wittgenstein's fact or case. So many cases are being accumulated. And the fourth layer is the whole world. So it's the formation of your worldview that most of us obtained from education, K-12 and beyond. Okay, so one layer after another, my hypothesis is that the value system is emerging. Value system emerge above our worldview. So this is the word here. I have that, so I start recognizing, well, I start drawing the distinction at a good and a bad. So Lawrence Kohlberg made this very clear that from childhood to the adulthood, he got 6 or 7 different stages that some of them are stuck at some stage and stopped growing. And some people are fortunate to keep growing here at the last stage. So above value system, there's something above value system that is aesthetic preference formation. likes and dislikes, beauty versus ugly. So this is hypothesis number one. Things happens one after another, and if your lower level got disturbed, your higher level crashes. So that is the ontogenetic. Now, 12 types of circularities involve not only feedback and feed forward, but I call feed down and feed up. That are circularities happening between these layers, and also left and the right. So today I can only lay out this parts, and I hope you would join me to assemble them in a more comprehensive model to identify the relationship, the detailed relationships between these layers, and individual construction within only one mind versus the collective community construction, i.e. the whole civilization knowledge base, and those interactions and circularities going on those dimensions. So second hypothesis is this bifurcation diagram, I think, which is very, very useful, because Lu's talk are focused on the two different perceptions conflicting with each other. And that is in the, not yet, that is on this 12, the two, these are all one state. And in about here, the stable state, the one eigenvalue become two eigenvalue. So there are two stable states, explain the Lu's conflict differences. And you can see from as this goes on, the 2 become 4, 4 become 8, and it jumps into chaos. It become anything goes. So this might be helpful, but not helpful to AOC and not helpful to our Congress politicians. But we will need to find out a way to pass the message and pass the knowledge. I mean, reorganize the knowledge so that it can be benefit to them. The last hypothesis, number 3, is this wedding dance landscape of evolution. So Lu talked about Tom's catastrophe theory, and you have this little landscape in just one trap. Okay, so little ball, the eigenstate trapped into one. And the challenge becomes, how do you change that landscape so that make that change possible? Now, Weddington used this one. He used this pathway. So in each intersection, the system can get into different stable states, and one thing leads to another. So as time goes, the system falls into totally separated different states and mutually not understanding each other. So that is the situation we need to deal with. And this goes back to, I'm sorry, Peter is not here. This goes back to our plasticity of our brain. Our brain has all those neural networks linked together and in some degree frozen there. So once you have your certain perception and your certain value holding there, they are very stable and very hard to change. Sometimes change has to involve heavy damage, a painful experience. So the challenge is change of value system possible? So that those incompatible value system can somehow moved into more compatibility. So the total amount of the wars and the fights can be reduced. It is here I'm quite pessimistic because I don't find a lot of possible solution or even except the painful failures and a lot of unintended consequences that become inconvenient and awkward and terrible that forced us to change. One example is a guy whose name is what's his name? His Chinese name is Bo Ming. He's the high advisor for Trump. But when he was young, he was a journalist living in China. And he believes, like a lot of Westerners believe, that if we provide more chance for China to grow rich and generate a middle class, and China will become more and more democratic. And he had that belief for a long time until he was in an accident, bullied by the CCP police. He was beaten. And that made him change his career. He went back to US, joined the Marine. So he accomplished change of his value system through being bullied and beaten, through a painful experience. Now, a lot of our professors do not have those painful experiences. One example would be the currently high-profile 3 university presidents testifying in Congress. They are very woke, and I don't see any other way to change those woke value system, except if they were falling into CCP's hand and being tortured, and if they survive, they might change. So what other better suggestions you guys can give me or can discuss? I'm running out of time, so I'm going to save the abuse of value to next time. Basically, what I covered here previously is the conflict of values per se. All the different values struggling with different type of value. But there is one more dimension of the problem of our world, is that a good value can be abused. It's like wealth can be abused, power can be abused, value can be abused too. There are many examples that I think you can, if you are interested, we can do another session. So that's my, sorry, it's my presentation. What questions it generated from you guys?
Jason, I
Thank
would
you, Jason.
pose a question that starts at sort of the basics. In general, I follow your line of argumentation and recognize that these human cultures have diversified the belief systems, yet there is a certain sense of commonality among the human species. And so my question to you is, number one, what are the commonalities among the human species? And two, which of these commonalities lead to coherence and acceptable moral and social behavior versus the commonalities which lead to the opposite direction? And so what I find missing from your presentation is this sense of opposition that is so crucial to human reasoning.
That certainly is a topic for another session. Yeah, what are the commonalities and how far those commonalities can go to deal with such situation?
More
I think a lot
difficult, though,
of
is the
us feel
question of
that.
the oppositions, the nature of the oppositions that underlie and embed the behaviors.
Agree.
I think a lot of us feel that if we could just get to the right level of our commonality, we could eliminate the differences, the problems of the differences, if we could just come together in the right way. But we're obstructed from that, and those oppositions need to be thought through. So yeah, another session on commonality would be fantastic.
Okay, Jamie.
Yeah, so I have to make a confession, Jason. That is, I had you in mind when I made my presentation, and I was thinking, how can I develop commonality with Jason? And so we started, for the ones who don't know, we started with a disagreement whether I could use the name of Aristotle in the title. And Jason pushed me and said, no, don't use the name of Aristotle. And so thank you, Jason, because you made me think about all the great cyberneticians whose work I could quote. But having said that, I don't know what to do in some way, because I see the way you talk about the university presidents and woke and AOC. I would propose, is it possible for you to actually try to think about woke as something excellent, beautiful, that's trying to make humanity better? And that's the reason I think Gestalt switches are so important. And that is the reason on my list of important distinctions, I put love, hate at the end. Because I think if we begin and enter a discussion by saying there is a good and evil force, we never get out of it. But if we start somewhere else, and I deliberately put creative there, and I was actually thinking about Claudia Westerman's work on design, because design is creative work. And so if we start by thinking creatively, and I think that is also cybernetics. There's a difference from science, that cybernetics says, yes, we are creative. Yes, we feel things, we like, we dislike, and we're going to be upfront about it. So if you consider thinking creatively with the word woke, that's my question.
David. You raised the hand?
Jason, you haven't answered yet. I asked you,
What was your question? Your question is how Jason can become creative. Sounds like
no, how has Jason ever done an effort to think about the word woke as actually something very good, productive, that raise people's consciousness
that is
about,
in the slide. That is in the slide I omitted. It's about abuse of value. So every value piece used to be originally good or with a good intention.
yeah,
But that is my major message. It's a lot of people push that good value beyond its appropriate boundary. So that is where the problem arises. I will give you example in our next session about that.
yeah,
Actually, I'm not taking side of either or of conflicting value systems. Actually, I proposed a dual phase mechanism to acknowledge the necessity or the rationality of each value, but they conflict with each other. So the solution would be take time to emphasize one and take time to emphasize two. Accidentally, humans invented a bipartisan system that is exactly doing this. Now I'm happy to see that the damages produced by woke is currently getting balanced by the other force. And once that force goes too far, and this will rise again. And that's my worldview. Okay, so it's a pendulum. But I would like to invite David to
yeah. Can I just
say your question. You raised your hand.
but Jason, can I just very quickly respond? You said the woke started as good and then it crossed a boundary, and so that is the boundary. That is where the logical operation comes in. Just to find out where the boundary is, why it was crossed. Yeah, okay, and that is our
exactly. That's what we talk about the limit of X and the locality of rationality. David, you are new to it, so I would like to hear more from you.
Wow. Okay, look, that's three. I mean, that really pushing my ability to listen, okay, and to appreciate the synthesis. I think we're dealing with ludicrously complex phenomenon. I really appreciated your attempt to say this is a real problem. These are real problems, real people bombing each other. Okay. So you're unsatisfied with a bunch of logic. It's like, okay, guys, okay. It's not good enough. Okay. However, you're a little bit enigmatic because you're using these phrases of science 3, science 4, with condition 6C. And I'm like, what's he talking about? Okay. So you've got a lot. And every one of us at the age we are, we've got a lot of synthesis. I specifically have one question regarding your 4 times 3 to get the 12 circularities. Okay, 4 times 3. And I was like, oh, is that related to second order cybernetics? You know, Forster and all that, von Forster or whatever. And, you know, third order cybernetics. I was like, oh, is he doing that? And you kind of were. I really liked your second set. Y-axis, was it, of your circularities. I thought, oh, that's quite nice. But the third set, I was like, okay, I'm not sure about this left-right business. But that was the question I had specifically. However, as I was listening to your question, Jamie, I thought, wait a minute, can you apply your model to improve our communication? That is a bunch of people turning up, and what level of science are we at? What if some of us are thinking we're in science 2, and other people are thinking we're at science 4, or whatever the hell it is that you're thinking? It's definitely at cross purposes. I mean, I could tell from my listening. I'm listening. I'm going, wait, guys, we're not really engaging here very well. Or the level of resolution is so fine, we're exceptional. No, we're not doing fine, subtle things. It's massive disorders in our communication, massive. And so, can you apply your model to what is happening with us here, with the Welcome to the Club of Remy? What level of science are we talking about? Can you use your model to almost like pinpoint where you think we are? Would that be helpful or not?
Yeah, this can be done. You were not here in our previous sessions. Basically, I talk about the classic traditional natural science as science one, with the goal of discovery the so-called natural laws, unchanging and universal, blah, blah, blah. But in the area of science two, it does not have that goal. The goal are different. The goal are I call 6 C's, namely cognition. So what's going on in individual brains and getting a worldview and getting understanding about the world, and then between the brains there's the communication, and the communication is simpler than conversation. That what we currently doing here in Club of Remy is to have a conversation so that perhaps we can form something called a consensus. Okay, and so once we have a consensus, so getting back to the real world in our actions, we can have more coordination. And after coordination, we probably can co-create something. So co-construction. So 6 C's are the focus of science 2, which include behavior science, psychology, sociology, and the second order cybernetics, because second order is mainly focusing on observer and the effect of observer, the function of the effect of the model you created goes back to influence the system being observed. So, but the whole area of science too is within something we call community. So the Club of Remy is a community. We have shared interests to learn new knowledge or to expand our knowledge. But they are other communities that could be our allies or could be our enemies. So multiple communities forms ecology. And there, the science is game theory. So game theory has a precondition that every player is playing by the same rule. So we have a competition, we have a win or lose, that's okay. And then you can come next round if you lose this time. But beyond that, they are forces that do not play by rule. And that is an existential threat area that we need something called science 4. Well, Machiavelli and Sun Tzu, Art of War, they're all talking about in that thing. How do you survive in a hostile situation? So that is not, you still can be creative there, Jamie. But the creativity is to help your survival.
Yes, okay, Jason, since you call my name, I'm not being creative at all when I say logical operations come before mathematical operations. And I wish that Lou was here to give feedback, and maybe someone else can give feedback. So I made a proposal for the consensus that we need to have consensus that logical operations become before mathematical. And then once we do that, then decision making, it becomes clear we need benefit models. And risk benefit, they do exactly what your the art of war is doing. It looks at unintended, undesirable, unanticipated consequences. So but we need to think about the fact there always will be unintended, undesirable, unanticipated consequences. And in order to do that, we need to think logically. And David, I didn't start with all the pictures of all the bloody corpses all over the world today. But I'm very much thinking about that. But it's not helpful to start with saying, look, this is what we're doing today with all our brilliance. So we need to start thinking, what can we do differently? And thank you, Jason, for the Club of Remy to do things differently.
Can I just suggest, though, that our starting point is a group of people communicating? We really do need to have this group communicating well. And I don't see that. Okay, I see, maybe it's because I've just joined in. There's complex models over there. There's a complex model over there. There's Lewis is trying to go, look, we're just this thing, this perception. He's trying to, because he's a mathematician, he's trying to minimalize it and say, look, it's just this problem, perception, something. You know, oh, no, that's part of this, part of that part. Yeah, we know this. We could go into it's part of absolutely everything. Yes, that is the problem. And we cannot bring to other people the level of problem. We need to somehow practice some level of solution.
Are you
David, I
aware
think
of
you're
the,
missing Lou's very fundamental point, and that is that everything has to start somewhere, and once it starts, it can be amplified.
Okay, but that's us. But we're in process. I've just joined this. I'm not going to presume that we're going to start anything. This is already in process. You guys know each other a little. I'm entering the stream going, okay,
make sure you
this is kind of
come,
interesting.
make sure you come back again.
Yes, to an extent.
Yeah, make a
unless
commitment.
we actually, no, not unless we improve. I don't have the time. My brain explodes. I mean, I listened to I was like, okay, I can relate it to what I know. I can relate it to lots of things that I know, but I don't make the foolish mistake to start saying, oh, there's a problem here, there's a problem here. These are ludicrously complex systems. There's absolutely no way we can compare them in any intelligible form unless we're engaging each other in a different way.
Lucille, we need to engage with you. And Walker, you haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, let's hear what they think. Yeah.
It's too late now. I mean, I followed the discussion. It's everything very interesting. I mean, almost everything, every sentence would have requested some clarification or discussion. Just to take the last one. I mean, game theory. Game theory, I think, is not a good mathematical tool to deal with human affairs in general. For example, it is based on the idea that it's possible to build a payoff matrix, and it's possible to maximize the values of the payoff matrix. That's really okay. I don't want to. I mean, it's nothing to do with what is reality done, because it is based on the idea of perfect rationality and the possibility to make perfect estimations of the future, and repeated games, which means repeating games. Are we immortal? I mean, and so on. Personally, I can tell you that I'm totally against game theory. It is not a good way to approach human affairs. I mean, and of course you can tell me, oh, but good game theory is a sort of how to say prestigious field of study. My answer is okay. And so what?
So what's your opinion? What's your opinion of John Nash?
I mean, but it's not an opinion of John Nash. John Nash can be a genius, as other people have been a genius. Even Arrow Debray have been built an excellent mathematical description of general economic equilibrium. Then the point comes: is there anything to do with reality? And here the game comes. Really, it has nothing to do with reality. You know that the game, the true game, Monopoly, no? Is it a good approximation of a real estate of New York or Rome? No. But it talks about, it speaks about hotel, houses, lands, and so on. But it has nothing to do with reality. So we have to make a sort of, let's say, decision when we discuss about this type of things. Are we interested to talk about something that has to do somehow with the real behaviors, or are we just interested to talk about mathematical models, whatever they are? I mean, I personally am interested, and I can put my brain forth in dealing with something that has to do with reality, not on what can happen in some galaxy, I don't know where, and and game theory has nothing to do with real behavior.
Otter.
That's my point. Sorry, I've been a bit tranchant, but
Perhaps first to introduce myself, I'm a mathematician. I'm coming from Spencer Brown. There I met Jamie, and she introduced me to join. So I joined today for the first time. I'm completely surprised. I have expected something different, but I'm very interested in this, especially the last discussion also from Jason about the Weddington and then the game theory. That is at the moment very in my interest. But I definitely have to think about what I have heard the last 19 minutes, and I liked it. That was my short statement for my first time.
Thank you. David, you want to say more?
I'm fairly certain, because I teach kids. You have to make sure it's practical, otherwise the kids go mad. So when Lucia is talking about it has to be useful, it has to do with the real world. Oh, you don't like that?
so
Kids in a room are not real.
Sorry, David, I will make a distinction. Useful is different from what let's say I claim. Has to do with reality. Maybe not useful, or maybe, I mean, that's another concept, useful or not, but has to do with what real beings, what humans do. That's my question. Okay.
Okay, so
of behavior has to do with real behavior.
Okay, so you're talking about, so I'm allowed to say something about the kids are real in my class. Is that real? Is that real?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
it's no, Lucio's, look, Lucio's kind of like going like that. And I'm like, wow,
One more minute, Jamie. Go ahead.
Okay, you brought up something interesting, David. You say no, it was 5 minutes ago that I thought. You say I'm joining here and I see different levels of communication, and I'm wondering what the heck, this is so extremely complex, and Jason made that really clear that we cannot deny the complexity. but so here I want to make a plug. Dus for Maxwell, distinction, the observable versus the unobservable. Dus that's literally the black box. So David, there's a lot of unobservables here, and unless we learn how to talk about them, we never are going to get anywhere. So we have been meeting each other for 3 years. So we are very different. Okay, now we're extremely uniquely different in ways that no one can imagine because we're so different. Yet we were able to find a common ground. Now, how? And now I'm making a bold plug, and everyone may disagree and whatever. I'm saying how were we able to come to an agreement is because we treated logical distinctions as prior to everything else, prior to the civilizing process. And so tacitly, we developed a common ground by stumbling. So we were, I mean, I'm talking for myself. So I have been frustrated many, many times, but I have fallen flat on my face many, many times. But I always go back to logical distinctions as prior to mathematical operations. And then what sort of history do I get? And how is my engagement with reality? As Lucio say, the game theorists, for them, game theory is extremely useful because they got themselves positions at universities, they're distinguished, some got Nobel Prizes, and they all have a stable life with a retirement income and healthcare benefits. And they're very safe because they all agree with some assumptions, and from there they feel safe. But that is what Jason is telling us, and what I also see. There is a pushback coming. There's lots of people say, what are the universities doing? I mean, are they really connected to reality, or is it connected to their own self-interest? Yeah.
We have
sorry, but
we have a
Sorry?
Hari Firni here. Are you there? You want to say something before we close?
Sorry, I've been largely an observer. I've got lost on more occasions than I care to say in the course of this discussion. I'm very pleased to see all sorts of things which I liked before I joined the meeting. Would like to pursue more. So, for example, Waddington's landscape, so many things, not to mention Spencer Brown. But I don't think I've got anything particular to add to the wider picture. I come to this as what I would describe as a mathematician manqué, that's the best I can tell you. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't think I've got anything very specific or useful to offer at this stage.
Okay, we are 24 minutes of time, so thank you so much.